So, how many of us are excited about the new miniseries coming to Netflix in December, especially after the premiere of that epic trailer? We can't help but wonder about a few things about this prequel. Will Blood Origins be a retcon of the timeline? Is this part of the Witcher multiverse? Will Ciri's powers be featured within? What were the elves like before the collapse? What exactly is Blood Origins going to be exactly? Like many of you, we are massive fans of The Witcher, be it a fan of the books, the games, the live-action Netflix adaptation, or heck, all three ain't a bad conclusion either. So when Netflix announced the new up-and-coming miniseries prequel, The Witcher Blood Origins, in July of 2020, you probably wondered what has Netflix cooked up now? Though between the last we heard and now with the world shutting down, we don't blame you for putting it to the wayside. For those new to the series or those needing a reintroduction, The Witcher is a thrilling live-action fantasy drama on Netflix, based loosely on the novel series of the same name by Polish writer Andrzej Sapkowski. The Witcher follows the adventures of Geralt of Rivia, fan favorite Jaskier, or Dandelion to those in the know, Yennefer of Vengerberg, and Princess Ciri. The series has quickly gained a massive cult following with its initial release on December 20th, 2019, and with the announcement of The Witcher Blood Origins, many fans were ecstatic about the lore-focused prequel miniseries. This is mainly due to it following the creation of the first Witcher and going along with the events that lead to the conjunction of the spheres. To save time explaining the lore, the conjunction of the spheres is when the external worlds all collided and allowed monsters, along with other species, to slip into the world in which the series takes place, the continent. What were the elves like before the collapse? Also, will there be more connections to the books, a bit more on the lore regarding the elves? With that information from before in mind, the prequel will possibly explore the ancient civilization of the elves before its collapse into demise. We wonder what exactly happened to their civilization and if the series will answer the questions we have about it. The lore known is that the elves arrived on the continent before humans, but after the other species, and that they were very adamant about keeping humans away from their architecture and culture, even going so far as to destroy their own creations to keep it out of human hands. Perhaps Blood Origins will explore this in further detail with time. These are some of the things that many fans have wished to know more about. Yet with what we know, we have to ask something else. Will Blood Origins retcon the Witcher's timeline? If so, how much of a retcon will it be? Well, loyal fans, the signs are all pointing towards yes, and we have already stated these facts earlier. It's something that we are sure many of you picked up on already with the plot summary of Blood Origins. As we told you, the series follows the creation of the first Witcher. Many wonder what the start of the process of becoming one of these superhumans is like. Spoiler, it's not pleasant, to say the least. This process is detailed more in the books, as well as in the games, known as the Witcher trials. Given that the Witchers were known to be once human, and yet are now no longer of them, this is a big source of the lore that can be touched upon in greater detail. The series will hopefully expand on this more, namely with how the species of Witchers came to be a mere 300 years before Geralt's time, and how much of a need there was for them compared to the modern timeline. This means that the new series is adding an additional 900 years to the original lore, along with a plethora of other things. One of those is the time frame of the conjunction of the spheres being changed and added in when certain species arrived on the continent, which happened 1500 years before the events of The Witcher, according to the novels. This moves the time frame up 1,200 years before Geralt. It isn't a large change, given that the conjunction of the spheres serves as more of a background story of the event taking place. But by placing the beginning of The Witcher so far back in the timeline, the writers have completely changed everything within the saga's lore. This does pose a risk of retconning some pretty significant events within The Witcher itself. Jumping into the books somewhat to explain, the history of the Witchers is relatively small, due to the 300-year gap that separates their creation from the birth of Geralt. This is rather a small section of time in comparison to how long the world has existed. Not only does this make Geralt's story feel even more special and groundbreaking within the confines of this universe, but it also leaves the species of Witchers being seen as mysterious entities, since they are relatively new to the history of this world. Before this, Netflix's adaptation had so far not contradicted the lore of the books, though with Blood Origins, that is about to change. While the world of The Witcher is much more than just the Witchers themselves and their history, it does make one wonder just how far the creators' retconning will go within the prequel miniseries. There is also the question of if this will spur fans away from Blood Origins instead of drawing them in. This brings us to our next set of questions. Is this going to be part of the Witcher Witcher multiverse? And if so, will Ciri's powers be featured within it? Many of those who have watched the show know that in Season 2, Princess Ciri has been displayed using more and more powers, and she still hasn't tamed those powers. With that, we know that the party of 3 is on the run, as half the continent is now after Ciri due to her elder blood. At the Season 2 ending, Ciri shows that she can now transport herself and others to different worlds. This greatly hints that there is a vastly bigger Witcher multiverse than we were originally aware of, and there is the possibility of Ciri's powers coming into play more in Season 3. Could the retcon changes in Blood Origins be a hint of this being the history of another world within the multiverse instead of a glimpse into the past of the main universe? If so, does that mean Ciri's powers could accidentally change the course of time itself within the other worlds if she accidentally drops the group in the past instead of the present? Could she be connected to the conjunction of the spheres? The conjunction of the spheres is the most important event within the timeline of The Witcher. It is a cataclysmic event that happened over 1,000 years before the events of the series. It affected the entirety of the universe by trapping many creatures in the same dimension that didn't belong, and it created rifts through which these species from other dimensions end up in others. Thus, it caused various universes to intermingle and led to war as those trapped outside of their worlds fought for dominance over those already living on the continent. Before all this, there was an infinite number of universes, parallel realities to say, that were possible to traverse through. Yet following the cataclysmic events, many of these universes vanished forever, while others combined and were changed, becoming something new entirely. This leaves me to wonder if perhaps the events within Blood Origins are those cataclysms taking place within one of these alternate realities. This could be the making of a new timeline, one created by the mixing of others due to the conjunction, perhaps even explaining the reasoning behind the earlier creation of the Witchers within Blood Origins. As it is, not everyone can traverse through these worlds and planes as easily now, except beings of elder blood, such as Ciri and the Wild Hunt, who can do so with their innate portal abilities. If this is so, will Ciri's powers become a possible link between the worlds of Blood Origins and The Witcher in the upcoming Season 3? It was shown that at the end of Season 2, Ciri possesses the ability to carry not only herself, but multiple people through worlds when she teleported the group to another dimension where they saw the Wild Hunt pass by. If that is the case, it'll make quite an interesting addition to the universe. With all that said, we know rather little of the upcoming prequel to this beloved series. It's namely the speculation we have that we ask these questions. Is this a retcon of The Witcher, or is it an addition to the universe? Will there be connections to what we know canonically to Geralt's current store, or is it all new? What was the elven civilization like, and how did their demise come to be? Is the conjunction of spheres going to answer many of these questions? Will Ciri's powers be somewhat connected? What were the first Witchers, and how did they figure out how to become these superhuman beings? Honestly, it feels as if we are left with more questions than answers, due to there being so little known about Blood Origins and the plot that it follows. Perhaps these and many other questions will hopefully be answered when Blood Origins is released. For now, we can only speculate where this new chapter in the Witcher series will fit into the grand scheme of things. Hopefully, Blood Origins will do as much justice to the beloved series as the main show has done. That is all we have for you today, and we hope that this gives you a smidgen of insight into the upcoming series. Do you have any additional questions or insight? Are you looking forward to Blood Origins? Have a suggestion for our next video? Leave a comment below letting us know, and we'll see you next time.